Welcome to the weekly Pick and Pack, the podcast about all things inventory. Pick and Pack, powered by Fishbowl.
Welcome to the weekly Pick and Pack. This is episode 11. Nate Flake here is your host, and we have
Nate Fulmer over here.
And today we have a special guest all the way from Huntsville, Alabama.
That's right.
All right, Beverly Lang, welcome. We've had you as a sponsor on the show before, but we've never had you on the show, so welcome as a first remote guest.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit. I've talked about DBS before. Give us kind of the rundown, the DBS plug here. What do you guys do?
I am a small accounting firm out of Huntsville, Alabama that specializes in QuickBooks software and Fishbowl software. So I'm going to plug the fact that I was Fishbowl's #1 partner for 2019 and one of Intuit's top 10 partners for 2019. So do a lot of QuickBooks and Fishbowl.
Oh yeah. Yep. For 2019, Beverly came in the top spot, worked with a lot of Fishbowl clients. You guys also do like different data migrations, right? And
yes. Anything up to the tax return. I'm going to help you decide what software is best for you, what ecosystem to get your systems up and running. I'm going to implement it, train you, and teach you to be self-sufficient, and then be there to support you ongoing as you grow. So everything from helping you purchase to getting you ready for your tax returns every year.
And you do local stuff in Alabama. You also do remote, obviously, right?
I do some clients in Huntsville. I'll be honest, though, the majority of my work is abroad. With the way technology is these days, you can be anywhere and support anyone. So some of my bigger clients are in Florida, Washington, California, and Oregon.
Awesome. Well, that's probably good for you then, like pre-epidemic, right? Because then you were already used to working remote with everybody.
That is right. So, yeah, I didn't have to get on that learning curve and try to figure out how to make it work from home, because I've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years. How's
that been? Have your clients, and we're going to kind of get into this later about how everyone's adapting, but as far as your workload, like your clients, like, no, as far as, panicking that, hey, now we have to work remote like that. Is it basically business as usual? Are you busier?
I'm probably busier now than I have been. A lot of clients have kind of come out of the woodwork that I haven't dealt with in, a couple of years. And Wow. It's okay. How do I get into the cloud? How do I get onto QBO? How do I get access? And then help me through all of these different financial solutions that the government and SBA have put out, which we're going to get more in depth on. But yeah, I'm staying extremely busy right now, and I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I didn't even think about that, because a lot of people, especially the ones with stay-at-home orders, right? I know a lot of stuff. Is Alabama stay-at-home right now? Are they
Yes.
like on? Okay.
Yes, we went into a stay-at-home on this past Saturday at 5 p.m., and we're at a lockdown until April 30th.
Sheesh. Yeah, not Fishbowl. Utah hasn't done it yet. We're still at basically social distancing.
Yeah, well, Alabama, what's the old joke? If you're from Alabama, you're dumber than a rock. But they just don't listen. Even with the stay-at-home order, I looked down the street last night and took a picture out the window. There was 2 food trucks and about 50 people surrounding the food trucks. And I'm like, how is that 6 feet apart?
Oh, boy.
Guys.
Sounds essential.
Just rub some dirt on it and it will go away. Right?
No, I just took a picture, and when they all end up with the virus, I'm going to be like, I told you so.
Yeah, seriously. It's spooky. I didn't even think about that. So a lot of people that are stay at home that are on QB desktop, then once Fishbowl, we went through our own kind of panic of we have to get everyone remote in the next 2 days, right? And so our CTO did an awesome job. Shout out to Derek. Even though I would never say it to his face, he did an awesome job of getting everybody, it's a huge deal, especially when we have, you have a lot of employees. But your clients, I didn't think about that, moving from QB desktop to QB. Oh, have you had a lot of them that have done that?
Yes, there's been a lot of moving to the cloud, or a lot of trying to figure out how to get into a hosted environment so that they can get their systems and get it accessible to people, all over the country. A lot of the clients that I work with, the bigger ones, are not based in the U.S. So they have U.S. locations, but we're dealing with Austria, we're dealing with Switzerland, we're dealing with Africa, and we've got to make sure that they can work and be cohesive on a day in, day out basis with all those different locations.
Yeah. So, I mean, another kind of plug, I guess, to Fishbowl is so you can either move to QBO or you can stay on QBD and get a hosted service, which Fishbowl does offer that, whether you have Fishbowl or whether you just want to have QuickBooks on it, you can go through Fishbowl's hosted or, something similar. So that's awesome.
Great product.
It is a great product. And, there's a lot of other competitors out there, but I'll have to say, and not just because I'm on a Fishbowl podcast, but I like Fishbowl and their support and the fact that I can get a person at the drop of a hat to get something resolved makes it well worth the benefit of moving to them, even if you're not using Fishbowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
it's
job,
cool.
Beverly.
It's cool. Yeah. She's not here in person, so we don't have a gun to her head, I promise. It's actually, speaking of working remote and speaking of our support team, it's kind of funny because our numbers have actually, we kind of go off of like our live call percentage is a huge metric they use as far as how many calls can they answer live in a given day. And so I think it's been for Q1, it's been hovering around 88%. Since everyone's moved home, it's been hovering between 99 and 100% live calls taken. So it's actually,
we've gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Our support team is actually improving at home. That's pretty funny.
And that's pretty awesome considering I haven't called in at all.
I know, it's pretty wild. yeah, they haven't had to take Beverly's calls. So
that's right.
So let's get into some of the stimulus stuff. So this one, probably the biggest reason we brought you on, other than the fact that we're big fans, obviously, is Nate and I have no idea what these stimulus loans until we know that, every SMB and most of our clients are trying to get in on these loans and the PPP and these SBA loans. So what, have you been doing a ton of those? I mean, I'm not sure you deal with all certain size of client, right?
Yeah. So there's three major, supplemental applications out there that the companies can go for. So the first thing that was rolled out was the Families First Act, which came into existence and was signed by the legislative on March the 6th, which basically provided for emergency funding for paid time off, sick time, and FMLA. So it gave you the ability to get a tax break as the employer to offer those type of extended benefits to your employees. The second thing that came out was an SBA initiative that's basically called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which provides economic support to small businesses to help with the temporary loss because of a disaster. And because COVID-19 was declared a national disaster, it falls under the guidelines of this. And so this program is designed for small businesses with employees less than 500. And that means your sole proprietors, the ones and twosies, mom and pops, are just as important as the people with 499 employees. So they can apply for this grant, which is $10,000, that is forgivable and does not have to be repaid to the government. But they can also apply for operating loans under that loan and get a interest rate of 3.75%, which, as we all know, is less than prime right now, and also gives them the ability to defer those repayment payments for at least up to a year. So that was a great loan that came out and a great opportunity for small businesses. But the president didn't stop there. He said, this is not enough. We've got to give more. So now he's come out with the PPP, which is the Payroll, the triple P. That's right. It's the Paycheck Protection Program. And this, in essence, has given the SBA enough money to allow people to get up to 2.5 months of their salary. What we're trying to do here is to eliminate the need for having to lay people off and making our unemployment rise, to having to have people that, end up falling into default on loans, don't have money for food, lose their housing. So we're trying to stop that with this stimulus program and giving people the ability to get 2.5 months worth of payroll to offset and keep those people employed. And if you use the funds correctly, which is going to be for payroll, health insurance that's company paid, rent or mortgage interest, then that as well is going to be forgivable.
Sweet.
So it's free money from the government.
And you, as far as conditions, the only condition is, and I could be wrong, so correct me, is you just can't lay anybody off since you get it, right?
Well, yeah, you can't take the funds and then lay someone off. So that's a big no-no. And you have to use the money correctly. So if you think the IRS is strict, the SBA is going to be 10 times worse. You better know where every penny is spent that you get, because if you want that loan to be forgiven, you have to prove that you used it for exactly what it was earmarked for. Payroll taxes, rent, the certain things that they're giving you the criteria to use. And the things that are not payroll related, like your rent, mortgage interest, you can only use up to 25%. Yeah. So you have to be careful. Otherwise, if you take too much and don't spend it correctly, you will have to pay it back.
So you have kind of two jobs here, as I'm hearing it. A, you had to, or you're in the process of, because every state's different, right? Like everyone said, Friday is one that's going to open, but a lot of banks, as we know, are playing catch up. So you're having to A, teach people how to do the application, or you fill the application out for these clients. And then right. B, you have to make sure that they are set up to properly track everything, or else they're going to be screwed when, accounting time comes, right? Correct.
Yeah. I'm helping assist them in completing the application to the best of their ability with accurate information. Sheesh. And then we've got a calculator that was designed by one of the local banks here that we use to forecast what their expenses are going to be over the next 2 months, so that we can see how much of that loan is actually forgivable and determine whether they want to take just the forgivable amount, or if they want to, kind of roll the dice and take it all and see if they can find a way to spend it, or if they're going to pay it back.
Roll that dice, baby.
Roll it.
What were you going to say earlier?
I just have a couple questions for you, Beverly. So I guess with those small businesses, are there any industries or anything that are like restricted from that, or is it like industry wide across the nation, no matter what you do?
There's different requirements based on, like nonprofits have some different guidelines. Veteran owned organizations get some different perks, I guess is how you would say it. So there's different requirements, but the biggest one is just to be a small business with less than 500 employees. If you have more than 500 employees, there's other criteria that can help you get around that 500 employee mark.
Yeah.
Get you some funds, but it's designed for the small business.
Yeah. That's great. So basically the 90, I would say, based on Fishbowl's client size, 95% of our clients are probably applying for this.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter if you have inventory or service. It doesn't matter what you sell. Right. It's just, as long as you have, that's the criteria. That's it.
Yeah. The one thing I would say, though, is that people need to realize there's 3 plans out there. If you've already started and taken the money from, the SBA, the grant, and then you've already set up for the Families First Act, you've got to be careful, because you can't do all 3. It's kind of a pick or choose. Do you want to get a tax credit for your taxes and be able to defer those payments, or do you want to go with the PPP and get the money and have it all forgiven? So you've got to be careful, because you can't put your hand in the cookie jar 2 and 3 times. It's not what it's meant for.
I tell my kids that, and they never listen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my next question. This is all happening so fast. How prepared, or how far in advance were you having to prepare to basically do applications? Like, how far in advance did you get the material, or were you just like learning as you went?
Was flying by the seat of your pants, just like everybody else. I found out about this stuff end of last week. I did my first application on Saturday.
Sheesh, that's
nice.
And I've done 21, I think.
How's it been as far as the process goes?
Each banking institution is different. So some were really super simple. Some want your first kid.
Yeah.
So, the same information is required. It's just what format do they want it in? How much detail do they want? I know Intuit is looking at launching this for all of the Intuit platforms, the payroll platforms. So if you have Intuit Payroll, they're going to start processing these first of next week.
Wow.
Their process is going to be pretty simple. I ran through that with them today. So I think everybody that can be approved by the SBA and has the banking affiliation to do this is going to look at it, because there's a kickback for them. Let's just be honest. They're going to get 1% out of that loan. So
yeah, that's why everyone's trying to. I mean, we have a local company here in Utah called Divvy. I don't know if you've heard it. It's the kind of the credit cards we use at Fishbowl, but they've been kind of in all over LinkedIn saying that they did over $800 million of loan processing for free. Well, free with an asterisk, right? They got 1% of that. So.
Right. Well, and I mean, they only get paid if you take money that actually turns into a loan where there's an interest paid. But a lot of people will do that. I mean, 3.75% is a good interest rate. And if you can defer your payments for a year and you need to grow, I mean, you'd be dumb not to. Yeah. And then somebody's going to get a percentage of that. And that's what these companies are looking for. Yeah. Is that 1%.
So with reporting back on that, you mentioned that earlier, Beverly, like, how does that work? Is it just like with your taxes next year, or is it like a totally different process? You mentioned it's different. I don't
know that it's been completely ironed out. If so, I haven't seen it, but I would fully expect it to be its own separate reconciliation and tax preparation. Yeah. That you would have to take the funds that were received. And I know in the application process, you're having to provide payroll summaries. You're having to provide 941s that have been sent to the IRS. You're going to have to do the exact same thing. You're going to have to provide proof of payroll, proof that what you say you paid is what you actually paid, proof of any rent checks or anything you spend that money on. You better have a receipt, an invoice, and it better be legit.
Got it.
So Intuit's, that's cool. So they're basically building a tool that's going to, because you're using their payroll, that's going to allow you to apply and probably track all within the same platform, right? Cool.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be easier than what most people have been doing, because we're having to take payroll forms and then plug them in to an application. They're actually building the application process around your payroll. So you're not going to have to run payroll reports and pull that information. Their AI is going to actually extract that from your QuickBooks file, pull it into the application where it's applicable, and have all of the algorithms and checks, because, some of the criteria is you can't do anything over 100,000. So people that have salaries over 100, they'll cap them at 100. They'll do your counts on your employees and your average number of employees. So they're going to try to eliminate a lot of that guesswork and automate that based on the payroll information inside the system.
That's awesome.
That is.
Yeah, we'll have to talk offline, and that'd be something really cool that I think it'd be cool if Fishbowl made their clients aware of that, because we work so closely with Intuit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. That's really cool news, actually. As far as what you've been doing, and kind of, I know I already talked about this a little bit, but as far as kind of teaching people how to earmark it going forward to track it. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you have to, like, let's say I had no idea how to do that. Like, where could you find resources? Is that something that your bookkeeper is going to be mainly in charge of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of websites that Intuit has created that's going to help people understand the process and understand what's required. I would say definitely lean on your bookkeeper or your QuickBooks solution provider if you have one. The simplest way that I have kind of decided I'm going to do it with my clients is I'm going to set up a class. And so I can use the class feature inside of QuickBooks, whether it be desktop or QuickBooks Online, to create a class and just call it COVID-19. So any money that comes in for COVID-19 gets earmarked to that class. Any expenses that go out that are from that money will be marked to COVID-19. And I should be able to print a report, a profit and loss on that one class, and be able to back up with all of my documents and make my life so much simpler when I have to do the reconciliation with the government.
Because you're basically going to bring it in and put it in one account, right? Let's say you get $300,000 and you can just deplete it out of that until it's gone, basically.
Correct.
And then just set it up as class, which Fishbowl does carry the class over to, FYI, for these people. That's awesome. Okay, so let's get off the stimulus for a little bit now that my brain's exploded.
A lot of information to take in.
Yeah,
and you've learned it all in like 3 days?
Nate's over here just scratching notes. He's just taking
I use Google quite a bit, I promise you. I mean, I can retain a lot of it, but things are always changing. So, Google is your friend. Go out there and look.
Yeah, there's got to be there's an insane amount of resources and information out there. The problem is, and maybe this is my next question, is how do you know what to trust and how do you know what's reliable? Right.
Go to the IRS website, go to the SBA.gov website, and go to the home.treasury.gov. That's the three that I go to.
Got it.
So that's home.treasury.gov, and that's going to talk to you about the PPP or the Paycheck Protection Program. Go to www.sba.gov, and you can search for any of the programs that are available because they're all backed by the SBA.
Got it.
And you can. So that's the go-to. I mean, you always go to the horse's mouth.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's the biggest kind of annoyance of this whole pandemic or whatever is just all the misinformation, whether it be about that.
Just go to Facebook. They'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, you go to Facebook. Follow the link.
Very reliable.
Your Uncle Jerry. He'll tell you. He'll tell you where to do it. Okay, coming off of the stimulus a little bit, let's talk about your clients and how companies, because like, at least with Fishbowl, a lot of clients are kind of feeling this, right? I mean, everybody's feeling it no matter what they're doing in some shape or form. How have you seen some of your clients? How is, a good example is how are people adapting? A good example would be the restaurant business, right? Like people are having to adapt and pivot very quickly to stay relevant.
Right. Yep. We've seen a lot of that here. They've pivoted to, like I was saying, we had 2 food trucks in our neighborhood. So they're doing a lot of food trucks, a lot of food delivery. They'll set up one day for your particular neighborhood. Everybody orders by noon the day before, and then they bring it out to the clubhouse. And you have, designated times where only so many can be there at a time to pick up their food. I've seen a couple of our breweries here locally go from brewing beer to making hand sanitizer.
Wow. Dang, that's cool.
Yeah. And so that has become a really big thing.
Which one's more important at a time like this, though?
You probably got to keep doing a little bit of both, I think.
A little bit of both. Well, I'm sure they're still brewing a little bit, but I've seen where they have switched it over and started making hand sanitizer. A couple of the painters here have created kits because a lot of people like to go do those, glass of wine and a paint.
Paint night.
Yeah, so they made kits that you can pick up curbside that has it already drawn with all your paints in a little palette, and then you can go home and paint with your kids. So you can still do these interactions with your children and do stuff that's not quite so boring, and you're still supporting your local companies because you're doing curbside.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting about that is like I've seen for some of these products or whatever, like the paint night, that's a great example. That's something I would probably not be interested in doing, pandemic or no pandemic, but taking a kit home and doing it with I would probably do that, right? So it's almost like they're creating a new market and they're like creating a new appeal to not only their regular customers, but to people who have never bought from them before.
Right. Yeah. And I used to love doing that with my kid. We've got him all over the house, but he's gotten too big. He's 12 now, and he's just not interested in spending a couple hours with mom. Yeah. But I make him do this because 1 hour, he doesn't have to go anywhere. We go sit at the kitchen table.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mama's happy, and he gets to leave in an hour. So.
Yeah, that's great. How has
I did see this one company on Facebook, though, talking about Facebook, that did this really cool thing to help their local company, their local small company. They sent all of their employees these really cool cookies.
Oh, hey, that was our company.
Yeah, it was Fishbowl.
It was your company because I saw the post, and I know that you guys support and love Crumble, which is this great little cookie place in Orem. And I saw that you guys were supporting your local companies there by sending all of your employees some cookies at home. So that was a good plug for you guys.
Yeah,
great
that was cool. Yeah, thanks. Our CEO had that idea, and so Crumble is actually, I think they're almost 150 locations around the U.S. So
none in Alabama, though. Dang it!
They're almost there. I think it's going to be soon, but they basically do these awesome cookies for delivery. So 4 in a box, they'll deliver them to your house hot,
and they're massive.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're
And so
about
it's
as dense as they come.
they're so good.
Yeah, I've sent several to you guys, but I've never had one. So we'll have to do one next time I'm out that way.
No, next time you come out, we'll have to do them. I keep checking to see when they're going to be in Alabama because now they're in like Michigan. There are a bunch of parts of Texas,
Oregon,
Arizona,
Tennessee, like there's
California.
a couple of like randoms too. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be everywhere in the U.S. I think before long. But yeah, that was like kind of our way of rewarding the employees for more of their employees' families for putting up with the workers that are home, right? And
right.
And then also to support local companies, and so that was something really cool.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, I'll pass that on. So as far as any of your clients, have you seen how, like, have your direct clients had to adapt to this at all? I know everyone's working remote now. That's probably the biggest hiccup, right? Is people having.
Yeah, there's a lot that are working remote. I've had several that have had to lay people off, which is, it's never a good thing when you have to lay somebody off.
Yeah, seriously.
Right now, though, I guess if I was going to be unemployed, now would be the time, because with the stimulus, again, another perk was they are adding $600 a week to the unemployment.
Yeah, I saw that they're increasing it.
So,
this would be the time.
so if I was going to be unemployed, now's the time to do it, because I'm going to get 3 times what I normally would get.
Yeah, seriously.
But there's a lot of people that are just kind of, they're starting to panic because things are, they're not moving the way they were. And what's it going to look like when we do get back to normal? Is it going to be, how's our economy going to, regain traction? And are we going to be able to continue our interactions with China like we used to? Because, now we got this grudge against China because they brought this mess to us. Yeah. How's that going to handle our trade, and what are we going to do? And it's still up in the air for a lot of the manufacturers as to, where does that leave them when this is all said and done? Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of companies that you obviously do a lot of manufacturing out of China as well. And I mean, the biggest effect for them was when this thing started, they were all shut. Their manufacturing was shut down, Yeah,
the production slowed down like crazy.
And so people that didn't have the right backlog of inventory were kind of at a standstill, and competitors that did have it were basically just stealing a market share. So, I mean, it's super interesting. And then also, how is this going to shift? I mean, even going back to the restaurant example, after this whole thing comes out, are people going to be eating in restaurants as much as they used to, or are they just going to get used to the takeout life, right?
I still think people will go back because, I mean, there's a different level. I've got one client who's got like 4, higher end sit down restaurants, and he didn't want to pivot and do the takeout. He didn't want to dilute his reputation for being a, higher end restaurant. Yeah. So he's just kind of biding the time because he doesn't want to become known for takeout. So I believe that there is still the need for those, and I think we'll get back to that. Yeah. But I do believe that because of this, a lot of companies are going to diversify what they do and how they do it so that they can't ever get caught in this position again.
So is he just shutting down then for now?
For right now, he is shut down, yes.
Shut his doors.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess there's one.
Scary.
Yeah, there's one good here too.
Yeah. It's kind of scary when you don't know how long it's going to last.
They say this isn't over. They say we're going to have another spike in the fall. Yeah, I hope that's not true, but that's what some of the predictions are, is that it'll die down during the summer months, but then it'll come back. So I hope that's not the case. I gave up my trip to Hawaii. I really want to go to Hawaii, so this shit needs to be over already.
I know. I should be in Phoenix right now in Scottsdale, but instead I'm still 59 degrees and windy here. So, another thing besides restaurants too is a lot of kind of small retailers and people that are doing the brick and mortar boutique shops are now having to
shut down. Well, like all your nail salons and your hair salons, like what are these folks doing? They've not been considered essential since day one. So, and I'm really missing my hair salon and my nail salon. I'll take that.
Yeah. I don't know. The people that have to provide a service, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, the boutiques that are doing like clothing and things like that normally do in brick and mortars, like they can change to
and sell online. Yeah. I've seen a lot of those pivot and sell online and do like Facebook lives and do, watches and stuff like that where they can sell their inventory online. So for the clothing boutiques, I think they're okay. I've had some of the universities call me and say, okay, help me get an e-commerce store set up. So instead of selling, on campus, I can put it online and start getting some sales that way. So we had to pivot and create, e-commerce sites and try to get everything up and loaded.
That's crazy.
Help them,
and I think it's going to be a learning curve going forward that people are going to make sure that they've got all their bases covered.
Yeah. Well, I also think with like stuff like that, it's crazy maybe crazy to me, but it's crazy to me that people don't have that available earlier though, I mean, even my college didn't have a huge, I went to ASU, they didn't have a huge online selection. Most of the stuff you had to be on campus to get swag or whatever. And it's crazy to me that like, that's where the world's headed anyways, right? Everyone's headed to digital, no contact type stuff already. It just wasn't verbalized.
Right.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
It's going to push us that way. Yeah.
Brick and mortar.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. Well, you can just you can do so many more sales though online.
Oh, for sure.
Right? I'm not gonna you're waiting for foot traffic or what?
That's a good question.
It's hard. Here's another thing is the events. We see you at events. That's like where we see the most, right? Conferences is when we get to reunite. But it's like now that without this, I wonder if the conference world is going to be
impacted. I would say so. I guess we'll see. Because did you guys get the notification that Scaling New Heights was pushed out?
Yeah.
Changed locations even.
I was happy for that.
Changed to Orlando in September. Yeah.
I'm okay with St. Louis is boring.
Yeah. Well, Orlando ain't no better.
But do you think
there's Disney World there? There's
he had it at Disney a couple of years ago, and you go to Disney, are you really going to go to? It's like when we went to the Bahamas. I didn't go to classes. I went to the beach.
That sounds like a great conference. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to roll.
It was a great conference because that's when I first met Kendrick and
oh, that's right. Yeah. That was
the other one that was with him that had just had the baby. Oh my God, I can't remember. Tall and skinny.
Cade,
yes. Yep. So it was a good conference because that's when I met Fishbowl.
And just had a baby.
Yeah, they. A lot of people having babies.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more in a few months.
I know. I saw a meme that says in 9 months you'll only have first childs getting born.
Yep,
first children being born. That's probably true. Yeah, I don't know. I think the conference thing. I think people might be a little nervous. I think this next year is going to be rough for anybody that's holding conferences because I think a lot of people are going to be still.
They're going to be skittish. Yeah, they're going to be skittish and leery. Yeah.
But you can do a lot of it on. It's been kind of awesome to see how people have been adapting to digital.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do most anything via Zoom at these days, right?
Yeah.
Even at a conference or
webinars or whatever.
Webinars and everything.
It gets taught by Zoom. So they're doing classes online. They're doing, him and his friends get together and talk and play online, and we have meetings online. But I think one of the other things that I'm going to take out of this though is just how people have pulled together.
Yeah, awesome.
I'll be the first one to admit. And Nate, you've been to my house. You've seen my neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood. I didn't know my neighbors. I drive in, pull in, park, and come in the house. Yeah. Now I can tell you all my neighbors. Like we have a neighborhood Facebook page. It's like, hey, who's got toilet paper? And I get 3 packages dropped off on my front porch step. So,
so cool.
It's everybody's taking care of everybody. We'll get people, hey, I'm at the grocery store. They just put out milk. Who needs milk? So everybody is, stepping up and taking care of each other.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it takes epidemics like this to create that. But it's nice to see everybody get back to the human side of things. Yeah,
it always takes tragedy to bring out the human connection a little bit,
It's true.
But I think it's there's a lot of good. I would hope that the good outweighs the bad, right? And then we'll see how we come out of this. But it's good. Right. To give kind of an example closer to home here, Fishbowl. We do a lot of our revenue for training comes from on-site trainings, a trainer coming out to you, to your warehouse, walking the warehouse, making sure, everyone there is trained up. And so we've moved. Seeing your processes.
Pivoted to virtual, and look how well that worked out for you.
People are loving the virtual. So so now we offer a virtual training where basically the trainer's in a conference room for a full 8-hour day. via video conference, and they're still able to see the warehouse floor. You know, we have phones that move. We're not strapped into a computer.
Right.
And
you can probably get more done because now you're not having to travel. You don't have a day to and from. You can get more accomplished.
Yeah, our trainers we were a little nervous to see how our trainers were going to adapt, but they're loving it. They get to go home to their family at night, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's perfect. So, I hope you guys keep that as an option even after this, because the price point's a little bit better. The customer still gets the same interaction, and I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we've had enough good feedback that it'll stick around for a while.
Yeah, we'll stick around, and it's something that we would have never thought of because that's just how things have always been, right? You go on site, you travel, you deal with it. So
you get that physical connection.
Yeah, you get I mean, there's something to be said about face-to-face, obviously, but with the quality of video conferencing now, it's almost like you're in the room with people. So so I think overall, you know, bad stuff aside, quarantine woes aside, I think this is all going to be, you know, after this kind of blows over, I think it's going to end up being a good thing. A lot of people like you said, will be more ready, you know, the next time something like this happens, or just to be ready for anything. Right.
Right.
So, well, Beverly, thanks so much for, you know, taking an hour of your time. I know during this stimulus loan stuff, you're probably swamped. Super swamped. And so I'm glad that you took an hour and kind of got to detox a little bit with us and share some simple minds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you taught us a lot. I'm still just trying to figure it all out in my head. Yeah.
It's crazy how much, you know, how fast the information moved. And, but anyways, it's been good. So thanks again. And then again, I'm going to kind of give you a last plug here. Diversified Business Solutions. Your website is dbs-hsv.com, right?
Correct.
And if you are, I mean, you don't have to be, you can be anywhere in the U.S. And if you guys want help with that, or you have any questions about what Beverly asked, go to their website. Contact page is right there. And even after this thing, she's an awesome QuickBooks solutions provider, and she'll take care of you. So, so thanks again, Beverly. And I think unless you have any more questions, I think we're good.
Yeah. Always good to hear from you, Beverly.
Always good to talk to you guys. Everybody stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Stay home.
Stay safe and stay home.
Bye-bye.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.